Welcome to the Rusted Garden Homestead. This is the third video in how to make money having a plant yard sale. I already have 2 videos. You can check them out for more information. But the whole goal is to pot these up. These are all plants that I started indoors. I'll link the videos. And we're going to pot them up into any cup that you want. 8-ounce cup, 10-ounce cup, something like that. And we're going to just use a basic potting mix, whatever's cheap or on sale. You don't have to use seed starting mix. And when we're done, let's see if we can get these plants to be somewhere between $500 and $1,000, and that's a lot of money. So these will get put into the cups, and then we're going to drop seeds for zucchini, squash, cucumbers, maybe some beans, some other warm weather crops. It's the first week of April. That's about the time you want to drop the seeds for the warm weather crops. That'll give me about 4 weeks of growth, 4 to 5 weeks of growth in the cups. I plan to do my sale, if I were going to do one, between May 1st and May 15th. So you want to get the cucumbers, zucchini, squash, related plants, warm weather plants, into cups now so that they're to a nice size when you go to do your yard sale. So I'll show you how I divide these up, plant the seeds of the warm weather crops, and just really get everything in shape so that 4 weeks from now you can do your plant yard sale. So here are the tomatoes and peppers that you saw in the intro. I will link a video in the video description that shows you how to divide out the peppers and tomatoes. That takes kind of a while, but I'll show you how to do that. So in the clear containers, there are about 35 tomatoes or peppers. 35 times 5, that's 175 plants ready for the yard sale. Over here, in the black containers, they're larger, and I'm actually growing these for my personal garden, so I'm not going to cup them up, but pretend they're in cups. There's about 100 plants there. So that's about 275 plants just in tomatoes and peppers. At $1 a plant, that's $275. At $2 a plant, that's $550. And you can see how it adds up pretty quickly. And I do recommend selling them for about $2 a plant, maybe 3 for $5. So now we're going to pot up the herbs, flowers, some other plants over there, and then we will put seeds in for the plants I already told you about. Now I said you want to do it about 4 weeks before your sale. Here in Maryland Zone 7, like in the next 3 days, we're going to have some frost. So these are going to have to come inside. But you can move your cucumber plants, squash, the warm weather crops indoors if you need to. But if there's seeds and the frost comes, you don't really need to worry about it. So we put them in about 4 weeks before we would go to the sale. A little bit of frost is okay, but you'll just see how many plants we have. And I'm actually going to be giving these away to neighbors. All right, so let's do the videos on potting up the other plants, and then let's see how much we have. So herbs are really popular. I will link my seed starting playlist to this. These are all started back probably in January. So we have thyme right in the middle. Up on the left there is oregano. That's rosemary. You could also do chives. I don't have any chives right now. But those are the 4 main herbs that you would start indoors. We're also going to drop seeds for basil and cilantro today, so maybe in 4 weeks we'll have that to sell. When you're potting up, you want to make sure you use a potting mix. The potting mix is on the right. You can use any variety potting mix, it doesn't matter. It's a little bit more loose. It's better for the plants. The product on the left is garden soil. Sometimes it's confusing when you go. Garden soil is great for the garden, but if you're potting up your plants now into these 8-ounce 10-ounce cups, really try and get a potting mix if you can. All right, let me get in close and show you how to pot the herbs up. So the process is pretty straightforward. If you started or you've already potted up into something like this, you can just sell these. In 4 weeks, this will be really healthy. It looks good now, but it'll even be thicker. This is thyme again. I also started some in the bigger cells. You can just hold them longer in there, and this is an example. It's really, really large. That's going to go into a cup. You could break this down the middle if you want. You just tear it right down the middle. I'll show you an example of that with the oregano. In the smaller cells, these are pretty much standard. You just pop out your plants and you fill up your cup with your potting mix. Just make a big circle all the way to the bottom. Grab the top, push it in, push around the plant, maybe add a little more potting mix. And I'm going to do this for every plant. So you make a decision. When you're using the smaller ones, usually it just goes right into the cup. If you started something bigger, you could tear it right down the middle. Make sure you put holes in your cup, label what it is, and then you're good to go. Here's an example of the oregano in a smaller cup. And that's a lot. Like we did the overseeding method, which again, if you watch the playlist on seed starting, you'll see how I started all these. Grab it right in the middle and just tear right down the middle. And then you have 2 oregano plugs. Even though this says thyme, it should say oregano. Fill up your cup, big circle, right down the middle. Grab the top of the plant. You don't have to be that gentle. Drop it in. And in 4 weeks, this will be an oregano plant you can sell for $1 or $2. And remember, when you go to the stores, you're buying your herbs easily for $3 a plant. Here's another example of rosemary. This was started in January, so this is 4 months growth. Rosemary is even more expensive. This could, stay in here and go right out into my garden. But you would again just fill it up. Well, actually these are bigger plugs, so you just drop a little bit in the bottom, push this on top, push it down, and then just fill around it. And then you would have your rosemary potted up. You do the same thing with chives. So let me do all this and I'll show you how many plants I get. All right, so I have a big rainstorm coming, so I'm not going to be able to pot everything up. But let's go over the numbers. 275 tomatoes and peppers. Right in here we have all the herbs that I potted up, all the way down to the end there. Rosemary I'm keeping in those containers because I'm using that. Have lavender right on the end. I did find 2 chives and they get just popped in just like we did. That's about 94 plants, so let's just call that 100. So we're at 375 plants. Coming over to here, we have the mints, spearmint, peppermint, lemon balm, and there are 60 plants right there of the different mints and lemon balm. And if they're in a bigger container like that, if they get something to this size, just tear it right down the middle, plant them up. That's how we're doubling these plants. Same thing, mints right there, just tear it down the middle like I showed you. Double it up, you have 2 plants. That's 60 more plants. So we're at what, 160? And then these are flowers that are to go in my garden. They would be pulled out of the 6-packs. There's 27 there, so let's just say we got, I'm sorry, I think I said 60 herbs. We have 36 herbs, 27 flowers. Let's say this total space right here is 60 plants. Back there in another flat, I have 72 more tomatoes and peppers. So a quick count, 60, 160, 160, 275, what is that? About 435. Another flat of tomatoes, that's 500. $1 a plant is 500, $2 a plant is 1,000. And now we got to get to seeding the zucchini, squashes, cucumbers, cilantro, and basil. And you can see how it's adding up. So finally we have the warm weather crops. I'm just going to show you how to seed start one of each and talk a little bit about them. First thing we have is basil. Basil's a warm weather crop, and we want to just, here's the basil right down here. And you're just taking a pinch. You just want to drop in maybe 6-8 seeds, and then you would scratch that in to about a 1/4 inch deep and press them in, and they're good to go. Cilantro, much bigger seeds. You could actually start these indoors a while ago. You're going to drop in 5 or 6 seeds. Actually you could just press them in about a 1/2 inch and they're good to go. Now, basil you're going to sell a ton of. Cilantro you're going to sell a ton of. So it's really up to you how many you want to do. So let's just say we're going to do 10 of everything, add that to our total. We're well over $1,000 in plants. Just about everything I grow, I sell seeds for. I have a seed shop at therustedgarden.com. All the warm weather crops I have. So we're going to do squash and zucchini. And just FYI, zucchini is actually a squash. It's a summer squash. So what I recommend is a yellow squash. This is crookneck. There's all kinds of different squash you can grow, but people tend to like a yellow squash. And you're going to do 2 seeds, press them down 1/2 inch, cover them over, water them in. Now with the squash, with the zucchini, you are planting 2 seeds because you don't want to wait around for one that doesn't come up. When they're really starting to put out their first leaves, you're going to thin them to one plant. This is a dark green zucchini, so do a yellow squash and a dark green squash. You could do more, you could do spaghetti squash, 1/2 inch, and they're good to go. There's all kinds of different squash and zucchini you can do. You can also do winter squash. These are actually 16-ounce cups. That's all they had at the store, which is fine for the cukes and the zooks and the squash because they get really large and get big root systems. But typically an 8-ounce cup to a 12-ounce cup works perfectly fine. I recommend 3 types of cucumbers. You want a Space Master or a bush type cucumber, a pickling type cucumber, and then your standard 8-inch cucumbers. And you're going to put in 2 seeds. Again, 1/2 inch down, cover them over, cover them over, cover them over. You're going to keep 2 cucumber plants in there and let people decide if they want to grow 1 plant or 2 plants. It's all up to them. So you can also do beans. You could do other warm season crops if you want, but these are the standards. 3 kinds of cucumbers, 2 kinds of zucchini, basil, cilantro. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's another 70 plants. So again, we're well over $1,000 in plants if you're selling them at about $2 a plant. You know, 3 for $5. So I just wanted to get this out now in case you're thinking about doing it. If you weren't able to do tomatoes and peppers and you still want to have a plant yard sale, just do a ton of all the warm season crops that I just showed you. I'm serious, like when I did this before years ago, it would be easy to get 50, 60 people over a weekend buying 4 or 5 plants each or more. So, and as you continue to do it year after year, people look forward to it. But all these plants are going to be ready for my plant yard sale. Hope you give it a try. You can definitely make a lot of money to help kind of, you know, pay bills if you're having a hard time right now with the healthcare crisis, or you can use the money to buy stuff for your garden. Thanks so much for watching, and please check out my seed shop at therustedgarden.com.